As the Iran deal becomes a reality, Washington's neoconservatives and their allies are bristling. A sanctioned and isolated Iran had long been one of their policy pillars. This is no longer the case. The neocon agenda has experienced a major setback. Is this a temporary reversal or a stunning defeat? To CrossTalk neoconservatives, we have Fred Fleitz. He is a senior fellow with the Center for Security Policy and also a former CIA analyst. Hey, in there, what accounts for these people, their staying power and their places of influence? I mean, I think of people like Victoria Nuland. What accounts for that?
Well, Peter, I think we should be debating today whether this terrible Iran deal will lead to a restoration of the neocons and conservative foreign policy experts in the United States. I see this as a terrible agreement which is going to undermine U.S. national security, since Iran's nuclear program, actually, the timeline to a nuclear weapon will actually be shortened. This deal will lift sanctions on terrorists. This sanction will lift an embargo on conventional arms and ballistic missiles.
Okay, fine. We've heard this all before, okay? But it's really quite interesting. I mean, the other point of view, and that's what this program is about and why I do it 3 times a week, is that one could make the claim that Iran gave up something that it never wanted in the first place, okay? A nuclear weapons program.
Look, the foreign policy in the United States is dominated by the liberal foreign policy establishment. The neocons, I think, have been struggling in the aftermath of the Iraq War. What they're doing now is they are working. There is a large bipartisan coalition against this Iran deal. The neocons are simply part of this. And I think the question is, will this terrible deal lead to a restoration of the neocons and the election of a Republican president? I think the chances of that are very high.
Architects meant
let's try diplomacy. Let's try diplomacy with ISIS. Do you think diplomacy will work with ISIS?
Okay, that's
ridiculous.
Let's go to Fred. Okay, yeah. Fred, it was ridiculous that with the invasion of Iraq in 2003,
what are we talking about?
That's where we get ISIS, because of the illegal invasion and occupation of Iraq. That's where ISIS comes from. Yes or no?
No, that's not where ISIS came from. ISIS resulted because of the president's decision to remove all American troops from Iraq. He left a power vacuum in Iraq, which led to a terrible situation where the Shiite government persecuted Sunnis and allowed Al-Qaeda in Iraq to come back. It has nothing to do with Bush policy.
Okay,
in this region.
Okay,
that's the real issue.
Okay, Fred, no, let's be fair. Fred, go ahead, jump in, weigh in, please do.
You know, Israel's not the problem here. Does Israel have nuclear weapons? No one knows. But if it does have nuclear weapons,
yes, we do. Yes, we do know. Yes, we do know.
That wants to wipe. Well, I'm not going to get into that. Iran wants to wipe Israel off the map.
No,
it's a state-sponsored terror.
No, it doesn't.
It has forfeited.
No, it doesn't.
Well, look, it has forfeited its right to peaceful nuclear technology as long as it continues to be a state-sponsored terror that wants to wipe the state of Israel off the map.
Fred, the United States doesn't export terror all through the Middle East on a daily basis? Droning people to death.
What an outrageous thing to say. Of course it doesn't.
The United States doesn't sponsor terror. Come on. Saying one side is all evil, one side is all good. No, it's exporting terror. Okay, what countries are exporting terror? Saudi Arabia is exporting terror. That country's exporting terror. I know it's not polite to say, but it's true. You know, don't blame Iran for all of the region's problems.
Iran is backing Hezbollah
10% of what Saudi Arabia spends on military. I mean, it's minute. Go ahead, Fred. Finish up before we go to the break. Go ahead.
Saudi Arabia is not exporting terror. Iran is backing Hezbollah and Hamas. The State Department said that Iran is still the leading state sponsor of terror in its 2014 report on worldwide terrorism.
All right, we're going to go to a break here, guys. And after that short break, we'll continue our discussion on the neocon. Stay with RT. Okay, Fred, do you want to weigh in there? There was a lot said there.
Well, I mean, I'm a conservative foreign policy expert. I don't want war with Iran. I want a good nuclear deal with Iran. And my organization, the Center for Security Policy, put out a 9-point plan on what would be in a good deal. No enrichment, no plutonium-producing reactor. Iran has to significantly cut back its ballistic missile and sign treaties on ballistic missile proliferation. But I got to tell you that Israel is not the issue here. The Israelis and the Saudis are fearful of this because it's going to lead every state in the region to start enriching uranium. And I think it's going to lead some states, maybe the Saudis, to acquire their own nuclear weapons. Both states are very confident that if there's a Republican president elected next year, this agreement will be thrown out on the first day in office of that new president. It's so awful. There's growing bipartisan opposition, and I'm confident that this will become a campaign issue.
Let's just talk about what will happen if that happens.
It could lead to the restoration of neocons.
Fred, what do you think about that? Because, I looked at, I didn't see specifically your program from your organization for these talks here. But, when I look at the neocon agenda, it said any deal is a bad deal by definition, okay? They just don't want to engage. They don't want an agreement. They want to have limited options, and they want a fait accompli. That's why, it's amazing, John Kerry, for all of his failings, and they're endless in my mind, right in the middle of that, or right before the end of the talks, he said, but, everything is on the table. Force is still on the table. I mean, here's a man negotiating with the Iranians, and he is forced by these neocons in Washington to genuflect to the Israeli lobby, to all these lobbies here that don't want to have peace in the Middle East.
Well, I mean, I'm one of many conservatives who want an agreement with Iran, and we think an agreement with Iran should be struck based on what President Obama said when he ran for office. He said in 2008, Iran should not be enriching uranium. In 2012, Iran should shut down its entire nuclear program and comply with all UN resolutions. Under this program, Iran keeps its entire nuclear program. Okay. UN resolutions are dropped.
Okay, but
my view is an agreement is possible.
But Iran is a member of the NPT. It has had inspections from the IAEA, and it's been the most inspected country when it comes to this program than any other country in the history of these inspections here. It has the right to enrich. We have to remember that it signed a treaty where it has the right to enrich. Just because Barack Obama said a few years ago that it shouldn't be enriching uranium is neither here nor there. It has nothing to do with international law.
Well, I believe Iran has forfeited the right to peace.
Oh, really? Okay. It has forfeited its right. Okay. Other countries, we have Pakistan, we have India, we have Israel.
Wait,
have they forfeited anything? Go ahead, Fred. Go ahead.
Well, just quickly, I believe Iran has forfeited its right to peaceful nuclear technology by cheating on its nuclear treaty obligations. But concerning enrichment, even the Obama administration does not concede that Iran has a right to enrichment. I think it has in effect conceded this, but this is not something even Obama officials will say.
Okay.
No.
Go ahead, Brian.
The Obama administration and the United Nations, which just voted to accept this agreement, acknowledge that Iran does have the right to enrich uranium. Read the 159-page document, Fred. It's not that big of a deal to read it. It says that Iran has the right to a civilian nuclear. It has the right to a civilian nuclear energy program, and furthermore, that is their right. You are not the judge, jury, and executioner based on your opinions or anyone's opinions about Iran's legal rights. It's a country of 80 million people. It's got a high degree of education, a very, very important country in the Middle East. It's developing nuclear energy for peaceful purposes.
And a state sponsor of
terror.
Right
now, the whole world acknowledges that they have this right, except you and your neoconservative friends in Congress who are trying to torpedo a deal. And if you all succeed, if you torpedo the deal,
and many Democrats in Congress,
that it was the United States, and some Democrat neocons too, and all of them, and many of them perhaps. But if they succeed, the whole world will know that it's the United States that does not want a nuclear arms deal with Iran, not the Iranian government.
Okay, on that point, gentlemen, we've run out of time. We've run out of time. Many thanks to my guests in Washington and in Charlottesville.